Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams. Browns get Jared Verse, a 2027 first round pick, and a second and third, and tied up into that. This is crazy. This is what happened on Monday. Today is Tuesday. We are recording. I am Josh Kirby, and this is the Fourth and Forever podcast. That's a W. Rams are going all in, just like they did back when they won the Super Bowl. Seems like just a couple years ago now. They believe that their window is open, and it was time to make a splash move. What's bigger than getting arguably the best defensive player in the league? Now I know a lot of people are saying Jared versus younger, cheaper, and has star written all over him. But Will Anderson just got 54 million in this past offseason. Verse, already a two-time Pro Bowler in 2 seasons, is on pace to be one of the best young defenders in the league, and will certainly cost more than Garrett long term, based on Garrett making about 44 million a year at the moment. So really, I think it was a financial move for the Browns more than anything to be able to get someone that they can get a little cheaper, pay later, someone that's going to be in the franchise longer. Um, and for the Rams, they weren't really worried about the money. They know Garrett's not going to cost them as much long term, as he's not going to be playing for as long as Verse will. And if they're really going all in right now, there's no point of worrying about paying Verse in a year or two if you might be able to get 2 or 3 years out of Myles Garrett. Jared Verse is going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to have a great career. And shout out to the Browns for building a young defense once again through the draft in last year and this year. And now they have a new dynamic, like top tier leader that's going to be there for many years. Verse has been compared to his leadership style, his aggression, his focus, a lot of commitment he has, heavy leading into with the Rams in just a short 2 years. So him going to the Browns and having that same mentality with a chip on his shoulder is just going to do wonders for the Browns. The Browns used everything they could get out of Myles Garrett. The truth is, Garrett is was ready to compete, and the Browns are further away than they would like to be to compete. So this is good for the Garrett. This is good for the Browns. And this is really good for the Rams, as this is the best defensive player they've had since Aaron Donald retired. Now the Browns can really look forward to evaluating if did they get the right coach, can Shedeur Sanders play, and really focus on a younger team moving forward, knowing that if Shedeur is not the answer, you at least have a defender that has time and can be there and kind of can wait until you figure the offense out. While that defense was already good last year, and I thought the defense would be good without Myles Garrett, and that defense is was obviously phenomenal with Myles Garrett. Now you're getting a player in Jared Verse, and trust me, Cleveland. I know it's weird moving off of a guy, an arguable first ballot Hall of Famer, and is it really arguable? He might be one of the best defensive players that's ever played. Certainly the best defensive player in the league right now. I know it's hard to move past. He's been in your franchise. You drafted him. Kudos to you, the Cleveland Brown organization. You knew he was a star. You committed to him. It's great. But now that we're looking at the grand scheme of things, truth being, you got the future in Jared Verse. Be happy with what you got, and you got another first round pick next year to really be able to gamble with and get more players you can add to this roster. If Shedeur is not the answer, you know next year is a heavy quarterback draft. You can't expect this team to win more than 6 games. Definitely not 7 games. So they're going to probably be picking in the top 10 again. They're going to have the draft capital and ability to pick up to basically maybe get whatever quarterback they're looking to achieve out of the draft. So this is a great move for the Browns for basically banking on their future, and this is a great move for the Rams banking on this year. And it's a great move for Myles Garrett as he gets to will never be talked about how he was not loyal to his team. He'll never be talked disrespected about leaving Cleveland because he didn't make a big fuss and leave. They shipped him off for valuable compensation, and now he's going to a team where he finally can compete and kind of stack onto his legacy as someone that clearly wants to be known as one of the greatest defenders of not just this generation, but of all time, getting to a competitive team, playing playoff football, playing in a potential Super Bowl, really is going to look good on his resume long term. He's already a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I think anyone else that watches the game, but getting him in this position is just even better for him. I mean, look at what the Rams have done. They traded for McDuffie. They signed Jalen Watson, who played with McDuffie in KC. They signed Devontae Adams last year. The Puka has been nothing but a star. They've got two great running backs. Stafford's coming off an MVP year. Now they've traded for MYLES Garrett. This is the team that thought they were one win away from being Super Bowl champions. They figured if they could beat the Seahawks last year, they were going to be competitive and probably beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So this is a team that really is committed on this year. They want to see what they can do. A lot of people were not happy with their draft, being that they went and got Ty Simpson, thinking that that would not help them this year, knowing that this is a team that's probably Super Bowl or bust. But now with this trade for MYLES Garrett, you got your quarterback hopefully for the future. You got the best defensive player in the league. You have improved on your corners, which has been one of the biggest weakness of your team last year. You got a quarterback coming off an MVP year. You have two high efficient profile receivers, one that can do it all, and one that was a touchdown machine last year. You got two running backs that can really carry the weight that complement each other very well. And you got an offensive line I still don't love, but they're happy with. They drafted an older veteran college player. He's like 25 years old. He's going to probably start on the line. They're not looking. They weren't looking for the future in this draft, other than Simpson. They were looking for now overall. Simpson they just liked what they saw out of him, and they figured with what they're going to put together this year, they're never going to draft that high again. Now, the trade that we all saw coming, because clearly none of us envisioned this to happen on a Monday. But AJ Brown is finally a Patriot. He was traded for a 2028 first round pick, so the Patriots didn't have to unload a 27th first round pick. They could unload a year later. And now the Eagles can get rid of that, I would say, mess for that organization. Now, I don't think it was AJ Brown's fault. I've been very clear on that. I think AJ Brown's a phenomenal player. I think he was underutilized in his years in Philly, especially in the latter half of his career there. I think this team can't keep coordinators based on either they're too good and go get jobs, or they're not good enough and don't last beyond a year. I think it's been a very this is an Eagles team that I think there's constant influx of problems here and there, and that I'm not as high on the Eagles going into next season as I would have been before. Even with this, how long this trade took to come together, and how like you knew this was noisy, but they weren't. It's like I don't know. I didn't like how they didn't play into it, but then again, I liked how they didn't play into it. Like I'm happy that they didn't make it the whole offseason about AJ Brown, but also we kept getting dodging about it. People say everything's fine, but everything clearly wasn't fine. Everything was not good there. Everything was not how it was supposed to be. AJ Brown was unhappy. They were unhappy with him in the building. They wanted him gone, and now he's going to be a Patriot. And this is huge for the Patriots. The Patriots have now their wide receiver room was very lackluster, especially with Diggs leaving, so they need to add some pieces. Now they got Romeo Dobbs, who was a very consistent uh, good, I would say, wide receiver three, depending on where you want to put him. Um, Keyshawn Booty was great last year. I thought he was one of the most underrated receivers in the league last year. You got Pop Douglas, who's a great wide receiver three, who's just phenomenal with his depth. You got Kyle Williams, who looks like to be a playmaker. And you got AJ Brown, who is your certifiable number one. This team has really improved offensively now. Patriots are going into a harder schedule this season, as they had the easiest schedule historically in a long time last year. Their offseason noise with Mike Vrabel and everything is louder than it has been in a while. They aren't going to shock no one coming into this season. Everyone knows what they're doing, who they're prepared to face. They aren't. I don't think this team is as Super Bowl bound as they were last year. Now, I think they might be a better team than they were last year, but I don't think the record will show it just based on. I think they're going to face tougher competition, and they're not going to shock people, like I said. And sometimes that shock value really bodes well for some teams going in next season with people taking them lightly and they shouldn't have. But this trade could really be just great for Drake May. it could really continue his development and put him at that next level. And really, I mean, he was a runner up for MVP this year. So this trade is only going to bode well for him statistically, have a consistent number one target as someone that can go down the sideline, contested catchy. I mean, AJ Brown can do whatever you're going to need him to do, and Mike Vrabel already is familiar with him as they were together in Tennessee. This is going to be this is going to be fun to watch. I'm excited for it. I hope everyone else is. Now, in a interesting, not as big news as those two, but still an interesting story to talk about. The Giants have signed Odell Beckham Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, and Braxton Berrios, all on league minimums. And this is probably due to they were unsure if Neighbors was going to start or be ready to start week one. Most likely, it seems like we're more likely that he's not going to be there the first couple weeks of the season, which they were already kind of planning for. So all three of these guys are kind of looking to earn a roster spot. Wanda Robinson, you lost during free agency. Don't know when Neighbors are going to be back. Your wide receiver room is not very deep. So bringing in OBJ, I mean, he looked really athletic during the flag football tournament. His athleticism shined, so I think people thought he could still come in and have an impact. Now, how that's going to transition is, I mean, we all don't know. He really hasn't been able to stay healthy in the NFL the last 3, 4, 5 years. So seeing what he can do at this age and after all these injuries and surgeries and stuff is an unknown. But I have to say this is great for Juju. Juju has been a very solid depth piece on a few different teams. We really saw his impact with the Chiefs, where he became a really reliable target there. And I mean, Juju's been around the league a long time now. A lot of people forget he was 21 when he was drafted, and from early in his league, he's very good when you have serviceable talent around him, where he doesn't have to be the number one guy. And Barrios is a really good returner. I think he would. John Harbaugh really likes the special teams, getting someone back there that understands the return aspect of the game. He's someone that can come in, play slot, but he also can be a good return man for this team. And I think that's something you're going to really look forward to. This team is going to focus more on their tight ends, I think, anyway, and running the ball. They got Theo Johnson, they got Isaiah Likely. They're going to have two top targets at tight end. They got Pat Ricard at fullback, so they're going to run the ball with Cam Scatabo and where they got Tyrone Tracy still there. So they're really going to mix things up, and it's going to be more of a hard nosed team. They're not going to worry about having a big time wide receiver room because if Neighbors can come back and even be close to what he was before he was injured, he's going to be a really good player for them. Now, I mean, coming into this with, like I said, they're about to build a new culture here with John Harbaugh. So having all these guys in this depth and having all that put together is really going to help see where they're going. It's a team that I love going into this year, but I think I'll like even more after this year. I think it's a team that's still got to figure its identity. They're still looking at what they want to do. This is a team that I really could think could shock people and be a really competitive 7, 8 win team with a chance to be a 10+ win team the following year when they get a little more draft capital, when they figure out a little more things across the roster. They still need to get some big run defenders. Losing Dexter Lawrence lost a big run defense quality to this team. I think they still need to improve their defensive back room a little bit. They still need a lot of improvement overall, but I think this is stuff we will see throughout the season how they develop. Now getting into a new culture, a new head coach, and John Harbaugh, and improving this receiver room. And hopefully, OBJ was with the Ravens for a year, so he understands the John Harbaugh system. So this is another guy that can really come in and help preach the word of John Harbaugh. And this is stuff you want. Plus, he's beloved in New York. I think him making the team is going to happen. How valuable he's going to be, I'm not sure. But I think all three of these guys, if they earn a roster spot, could all be valuable in some way. And this would be some good potential targets for Dart, at least until Neighbors comes back, or until they can build throughout the draft again next year with some receiver talent. Because Jackson Dart does need the weapon so he can shine. And I think it's going to be a really good developmental year for him and for the rest of this team. Now, that's all the big news that we got going on, but I wanted to go over some over and unders for win totals for the season. I'm doing it about, I couldn't decide if I wanted to do it AFC, NFC, if I wanted to do it like how I wanted to plan it out. So I think I decided to go in alphabetical order. So it's not like I'm choosing the AFC North because the Ravens first, or just kind of place it in order so I can talk about each team because I want to talk about every team. Now I got this stuff from Fox Sports, straight up. I wanted to be give credit where credit's due. Those are the ones that hit. That's where I got my information for the over and unders. And I just want to talk about the first 8 teams I've got here and kind of what I think are going to go into the season. As we get deeper into the off season, I'll have more deeper predictions about what I think is going to go on. Actually, talking about the games, the schedules, um, win losses, division winners. Because I have some people that some teams I really like going into this season, and some teams I'm not so sure about, and some teams I don't like at all. And let's start off the rip. The Arizona Cardinals have a chance to be like the worst team in football. I'm taking the under. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback. They're at a 4.5 right now. Jacoby Brissett's holding out. They might have Carson Beck playing at some point. This roster has talent. I'm not going to say they don't. Trey McBride's one of the best tight ends in the league. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been. I mean, he's been underwhelming, but you see the talent there. Michael Wilson's been has probably overperformed than people originally thought he would. They got some good talent on defense. Will Johnson's a really good corner down there. Still got Buda Baker. Based on how this team goes, though, I could see some of these veteran players get traded through the seasons for them to get some capital and build for the future so they can draft a quarterback and really set themselves up for the future. But this is a team that has 3 wins written all over it, even less. I mean, they're going to get beat up by their division. They're not better than the Niners. They're not better than the Rams, and they're not better than the Seahawks. So that's probably, I mean, 6 losses right there off the rip. And then all the other teams they play on the schedule, I just don't see them being very competitive, and I don't see what teams they're going to be competitive against. I just don't think, and I mean, the biggest knock on this team is they drafted a stud of a running back, which I love, but we saw what happened with the Raiders last year. They drafted the best running back in the draft, and Ashton Genty took almost all year to really get his thing going, and he was playing against a battle of line, and it did not produce wins. You don't produce wins with a running back. He's more of a complementary piece to your offense. Now, I think Love is more talented than Genty, in my personal opinion, and I think he is going to be a star. Like, I think he's going to do great in Arizona, but it's not going to produce wins. And I really still feel like this team should have focused more on offensive line. Because why are you not? So I got them with under 4.5. I'm going to go through the schedule. Maybe I put them at 4 wins. Maybe I just think it's hard for them to win any game this season. But as I learned from last year, I'm not picking any team to lose to win 0 games. So I did it with the Saints, and they overperformed. Man, I can't wait to talk about that. But that's not right now. Up next is the Atlanta Falcons, who sit at 6.5. Penix or Tua, the left-handed quarterbacks. They don't give me a lot of hope for this team. I like Kevin Stefanski. I think he's a great offensive mind. I think he did what he could with Cleveland, just despite all the crap he was given there. I mean, he was never given a fair shake there, and it's not his fault. I mean, he's a 2-time coach of the year. He went to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. He went to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. Like when you give him a competent quarterback, he can make it. But the organization let Baker go. The organization paid way too much money for Deshaun Watson. The organization has drafted poorly, forced him to take Shadur. Dylan Gabriel clearly wasn't the answer. So like, there's a lot of things that he was just not given a fair shake there to run the offense he wanted to run. I think Tua can run his system better than a lot of the quarterbacks he's been given, but I'm still not high on this team. This defense should be a little better, and honestly, I mean, the defense is young and talented. I like. It's not that I don't like this team. I just think the Falcons have a lot that isn't where it should be. I still believe they're a quarterback away from being really competitive, but based on the roster, based on their defense, even though I don't love the quarterback, I like the coach just enough that at 6.5, I can put them on the over. 7, 8 wins, maybe max. But you tell me a defense that I think is only going to get better through the draft, and they hit on a lot of their draft picks last year. They have a good running. They have 2 good DBs. One in AJ Terrell. Now they drafted Avian Terrell. Then they had a good safety last year that performed really well. They have a good linebacker, James Pierce. He got all of his nonsense dealt with, and he was one of the best edge rushers, young edge rushers in the league last year. You have We have a very talented defense that does not get the credit they deserve. We have an offense led by Bijan Robinson, who's one of the best running backs in the league. Kyle Pitts, I mean, he's still figuring his thing out, but he's there and he's not bad. You got Drake London, who's knows what he's a pretty competent receiver. I mean, he's not a top 10 in the league, I don't think, but it's arguable. You say he's top 15 easily. Like, so there's just definitely some things I like there. And like I said, I like Stefanski. He pulled every win he could out of that Cleveland Browns team every single year. And it was impressive with what he was working with sometimes. So them winning 7 games here, doing the typical 7-10 for the Falcons, the 8-9 for the Falcons, wouldn't shock me. This is what the Falcons do every year. Them winning more than 6.5 games just makes sense. Next, we got my Baltimore Ravens. Yes, gotta be a little biased here, but new head coach does worry me. Typically, that takes time to get into the system. We had a lot of roster turnover. A lot of it was more depth pieces than starters, but still, you don't like seeing that. I mean, we lost Pat Ricard. We lost Isaiah Likely. We lost our center, Linderbaum. So we lost some key pieces. We lost one really key starter, and then some other depth pieces that I really liked. Darius Washington was good depth safety. I mean, these are guys I would have liked to see us retain. But you can't keep everyone. Money is an issue. Money talks for other people, and people are going to get paid more. But we have an easier schedule than we did last year. We have a really good start to the schedule, which I really like. It's more favorable in our hands. Our defense should start hotter having Jesse Minter as our head coach. He specializes in defense. You saw what he did with that Chargers defense. The Ravens have, I think, a 12 or 13 win seasons ahead of them. So with 11 and a half as the line, I'm taking the over. Now, maybe that's high expectations. Maybe that's being a little bold, but honestly, now with the Browns not having Miles Garrett, I like those 2 games a little better in our favor. Typically, we split with the Browns, but if they don't have Miles Garrett, I'm not as worried about them as I would have been, as Miles Garrett has always just had Lamar's number. So if we can get 2 wins there, and Cincinnati, we've always played very well against. We generally sweep them, so that could be 2 wins there. We have a good start to the season, so if we can really stack up wins early, then our late division games we can kind of edge them out. I mean, we finished with 4 divisional games at the end of the season, and I'm pretty confident by the time we get to there, we're going to be in playoff mode. And I think 12, 13 wins is exactly what we should be at. Now, if we hit 11 wins and it's the under, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I'd be okay with that as a Ravens fan. I think that still gets us in the playoffs. But I think this is a team that can win at least 13 games and at least 12 games, 13, maybe 14 on the high side, but we should be better than we were last year. Even though I'm not so sure about us in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, I gotta see it to believe it. But I like what we are putting on the board. Next, the Buffalo Bills, they're sitting at a 10.5. They've exceeded 10.5 wins in the past 6 seasons. Even though that was under head coach Sean McDermott, they promoted Joe Brady to be the new head coach. They added DJ Moore as well, but the real reason why they're going to win at least 11 games is their quarterback, Josh Allen, who plays like an MVP every year. I mean, I think there's not much to say about this team. I think it's a team that you know what this team is. They're going to play through Josh Allen. They're going to play by Josh Allen. It's a Josh Allen team. Josh Allen gets hurt, then I don't know what this team. I don't know what the team is, but that's why they better thank they stars that he don't get hurt. Josh Allen is everything for this team, and he's the reason I'm putting this. He literally, I mean, with him, James Cook, DJ Moore, Shakir, they got the weapons. They got Kincaid, who's a great young tight end. They got a good offensive line. They need that defense. I will say the defense might take a decline, just as the fact of McDermott not being there. You're losing that great defensive mind in that coaching room. But Josh Allen's an MVP, plays like an MVP. He does it all. I think he's still in his prime. I think they're an 11-win team. They will hit the over. And now we got the Carolina Panthers at 7.5. This defense is going to be good again. This defense was good last year. They were underrated defense last year. They added what is it, Jalen Phillips for the pass rusher, who's going to be, I think, amazing for them. They won the division last year with only 8 wins, so they hit their that would be over if we're going into this season. I don't trust Bryce Young as the answer there, but he's ever since he was benched, they came back and started playing. He's not been terrible, but I have faith that the Saints are going to be much better. I think the Falcons are going to be about the same, and I think the Bucks may take be about the same as they were last year. I would say they take a step back overall, being the threats they were in the last couple of seasons. But I also think the Bucks team are heading into a roster reshape as they really got a lot of their veteran players are folding out, and you got to bring in a lot of young players and kind of reshape the roster. And I think this is a prime time for the teams of the Saints and the Panthers to really take advantage of that. But I'm not talking about the Saints, talking about the Panthers. Panthers, I could see win 8 or 9 games, so I think I'm betting the over here if I'm a betting man. This is their best season to go to win back to back division titles. I don't know if they can do it, like I said, because I believe a little more in the Saints. The Falcons are a team that I think are still a quarterback away. I think the Bucks are a team that are about to reset their roster a bit, so they have an advantage of taking advantage of their own division while also getting out some sneaky wins, as this defense is going to help them get some wins. So, and they got good receivers on the offense too. McMillan just won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Leggett is no slouch. Um, I feel so bad. I always forget uh, Coker, their third receiver. He's not bad. I mean, Chuba Hubbard is a good running back there. They got enough pieces overall where I believe in this team that they can do something, even though I'm not sold on the quarterback. And I don't mind the head coach either. Dave Canales has proven he's not a bad coach. Now, he's not one of these superstar head coaches. You're not going to put him in the category with Sean McVay or Mike McDonald or Kyle Shanahan or Andy Reid or anyone like that. But he's a middle of the pack kind of head coach that does not get nearly enough credit for what he's done in Carolina. But I don't think he's a superstar either. I think he's done very well here, and I think them getting 8, probably 9, maybe 10 wins here, I wouldn't be shocked by. I think this is a team that can do it, and they should come out and do it. Next to the Chicago Bears, 9.5. I'm just going to be point blank period with this. That's an over. This is a team that's going into Caleb's third year, his second year in the system. Ben Johnson's second year with the team. They've got good weapons. Colson Loveland really came on at the end of last season. They've got talent all over the offense. The defense may not be what they were last year, as no team generally leads the league in turnovers in back-to-back seasons. They probably won't have to rely on as many fourth quarter comebacks, as this is an offense that should be a top 10, potential top 5, maybe top 3 offense in this league. They got the weapons to do it. They got the offensive minds to do it. And Caleb showed superstar potential all last year. He's a guy in year 3 that should make the biggest jump out of, I think, any young of these young quarterbacks. You already were seeing the flashes, and he was durable. He took his number one problem from year 1 to year 2. From year 1 going to year 2, people were worried about him taking less sacks, and he cut his sack numbers almost more than half. I think it was like he cut it down by like he's taken like two, like what is it, like a third of the sacks he took from year 1 to year 2. So he really has fixed that problem. He's still missing on some of the give me stuff. I think he's got to rein that back. I'm not a big gotta have a 69-70% completion kind of guy, but if he's at 64, 65, it'd be better than below 60. I think if he can improve on that stuff, he could have an MVP type year. And if he has an MVP type year, and this offense is a top 5 offense, them at 9.5 is disrespectful in my opinion, and they should be at least a 10-win team. I think they'll go higher, but also I do understand the Vikings are no slouch of a roster. The Lions are no slouch of a team, and the Packers, which I'm I'm a little more hesitant on than I was last year. I loved the Packers last year, but I thought last year was their year. I don't know about them this year. So I think the Bears have a real advantage of their division still being a strong division, but them potentially being the best team in this division. So them at 9.5, I'm taking the over all day. Next is the Bengals, and this is another one. They're at 9.5. How am I not taking the over? The defense has improved. You got Joe Burrow, who is every time he's on the field, this Bengals offense is a top 5 offense in the league. You got the best, probably 1-2 receiving core in the league, with both of them very talented, but also doing different things. Jamar Chase running all over the field, every route you want to run. He's speed, he's quick, he's fast, great hands. You got T. Higgins that can jump over a guy, big body, possession guy. He can contest and catch whatever you want with his frame. You have the talent there. Chase Brown was a serviceable running back. like I said, the defense has improved with pieces all over the board. They went out and they've signed defensive pieces to improve that defense. That even though they lost Trey Hendrickson, I think this defense is better than it was last year by a mile. The real thing that's holding this team back might be Zach Taylor. I think this season, it depending on if they miss the playoffs again, Zach Taylor is gone 100%. But I think this is, as long as Burrow stays healthy, I think this is easily a 11, maybe 12 win team. This is a team that's going to rack up wins because they are just going to overwhelm you offensively. And now they have a defense that isn't going to let up almost 30 points a game. Like it's just not. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's possible for it to happen again with what they've done to improve this defense. So I think this is the big Ravens' biggest threat in the North. I think based on how this season turns out, they have just as much of an opportunity to win this division as we do. I think it's really the two teams competing for the top of the division. And I mean, this the AFC North, I really believe, is going to get back to showing everyone why this is the best division of football, even though it has not been the last couple of years. And I think Bengals and Ravens, what they if they could both pull out 12+ wins this season, will really set a standard for what this division is. But next we get to the Cleveland Browns, another team in the North. They're at 6.5. No disrespect, but I'm choosing the under. Now, I've talked about it a little bit because of the Myles Garrett trade. I love them adding Jared Verse, but Jared Verse is not Myles Garrett. At least if he's ever going to be, it's not yet. He's maybe a two-time Pro Bowler, and he's definitely entering his third year, and he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to play really well. Myles Garrett is arguably the best defensive player in the league, and he's arguably one of the best defensive players to ever play the game. And should be considered a certified Hall of Famer. So Myles Garrett has won them games. Losing Myles Garrett loses you wins. I thought going into the season, Browns could be a 6-7 win team because I love their roster. I love their draft. I've talked about it a couple podcasts, and before the draft, you knew what players I liked. After the draft, I told you what I love their draft. They drafted, I think, some of the best offensive receivers in the draft. They got two. They got one of my favorite receivers in the draft in Boston, who I think is going to be an immediate impact player. They've got two of my favorite defensive players in the draft. They they just overall have taken this roster. They've drafted some of the best players I think in this draft, and they're going to mold together a great team. I think that's why they were willing to make this Myles Garrett trade is they saw the young roster they're forming, and they're like, man, if these all, I mean, they have like 6 guys in this draft that are going to probably start. And if all these guys start, this is a young roster that they can develop and build with and work towards the future. And you add Jared Verse, who is just going, each year is going to he's only going to get better. Now, I don't trust Todd Monken. Maybe that's bias. As a Ravens fan, I watched what he did in year one and year two, and by year three, I felt like it ran its course, and he kind of all the everything out of his bag except for an amazing fake Mark Andrews sneak where he did the. If anyone hasn't seen that play was amazing. But that was probably the best play call he made all last season. And outside of that, like I said, I think he's got no more tricks in his bag. I don't know how he's going to do as a head coach. I'm really not excited about what he does in Cleveland at all. And as everyone knows, I think Shadur is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in this league. Maybe because the sample size wasn't large enough last year. Maybe because I don't think the roster helped him out very well. Maybe the coaching staff didn't support him. But I think he didn't show me enough last year to make me believe in him. But I will give credit where credit's due. I think he showed me just enough where he deserves a real opportunity this season. Now, just because is going to be given a real opportunity does not mean he's going to succeed and shine. I'm willing to be proven wrong. I hope he is because I think it would be great for Cleveland if they could have a competent quarterback and find some sort of sustainable success there as they have a roster that can do it. But I don't trust the quarterback. I don't trust the coach. I'm betting the under because I don't trust they can win 6 games with this roster. They might pull it out. I think they're a 5-win team. But like I said, if they're a 5-win team, they have 2 first-round picks next year. They have the opportunity to put themselves in a position to draft one of these quarterbacks coming out next year and really reshape this franchise. So there we have it. Those are the first 8 teams I want for the over and under. Got some great, uh, big trades has happened. It's going to be an interesting. This off season's already kicked June 1st. It's really put this off season into perspective, and I'm excited to see where we go. I mean, it feels like the NFL season is not too far away now. I hope everyone have a great rest of your day, and I love being a part of your day. Most importantly, as always,